Parshas Balak. The Shlach HaKadosh says that Balak stands for Lebracha V'loi L'klala, Beis Lamed Kuf. So this week's Parsha opens just after the spectacular, miraculous victory of Am Yisrael over the Emori. The nation of Moav, their neighbors, is alarmed. The two super kings, Sichain and Og, were as powerful as the sun, upon whom all the nations relied for protection. They've been eliminated. It's not just any nation that has come and conquered. This is not a natural process that is taking place. Balak, the king of Moav, and his people sense this, that the pending arrival of Am Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael is a great supernatural event with all kinds of ramifications. It's going to change the course of the universe as they know it. All the rules of the game will change. All their maneuverings and tricks and deceptions and trickery, which they're so familiar that have worked so well for them, will hold water no more. And the panic is great. Balak realizes that this is a spiritual struggle. He examines his supernatural arsenal and comes up with an idea: the hiring of Bilam, the Navi, prophet, sorcerer. If Bilam can curse Am Yisrael, perhaps this whole process can be derailed. So we know the story, we're familiar. Bilam fails. All of his attempts to curse, they fail, and instead he blesses. Bracha v'loi klala. Bilam then devises a cunning and treacherous plan to trip up Am Yisrael through the Benos Moav. This brings the wrath of Hashem, and Rachmana litzlan, 24,000 men perish. But still, we say that Bilam failed miserably. Why? What is the secret of Am Yisrael? From the mouth of Bilam himself, Ki merash Tzurim Aránu ומגבעות אשורנו hein am levadad yishkain ubakayim la yischashav. Very important statement. Am Yisrael's foundations are firm as rock, and the hills, they're a nation that dwells apart from all others. This is a people that has withstood thousands of years of exile, persecutions, pogroms, holocausts, and miraculously, we're still around. The destiny of the Jewish people is above and beyond logic. Our foundations are the Avos and the Imais. Avraham Avinu, Echad hu Avraham. Avraham started a revolution. He saw a world and its inhabitants who were all functioning in a manner without purpose. And he felt his conscience burning. This is the Mea Shiloch that I'm quoting here. What is the meaning of existence? For what was all this created? Just to be walking around and then and eating and drinking, and then at a certain point to drop dead? From his burning conscience came the answer. Yesh manhig labira. Hashem enlightened him to understand that Hashem did not create man to be a robot and to function like an animal, and then we said at a certain point to drop dead. Avraham's conscience is the very proof of the manhig labira. It is the question that's also the answer. It is a soul yearning for its creator. It is a child searching in the darkness for his loving father's guiding hand. Avraham Avinu and Sara Imeinu started a revolution in the world. Avraham megayer es ha'anashim, but Sara megayeres es ha'nashim. Not just for their time. This, he says, the Megala Mukais, is a great dynamic force, colossal magnet launched by Avraham and Sarah, that effective until the coming of Mashiach. Avraham Avinu and his Badlos ben Ha'umais are present throughout the Doros, drawing in all the Gerei Tzedek. Gam Avraham Garam, he says, the Megala Mukais, Lebarer L'Zakech, Kol HaGerim Shemisayfa Olam, Ad Bias HaMashiach, Ki Avraham Gier Anashim V'Sara Nashim, K'may Shekasav HaNefesh Asher Asu B'Charon, Lo Al Gerim Shebizmanahu Medaberak, Al Kol Ba'ei Olam, Ki Av HaMayin Gayim Hu, V'chein Hi, that's Sara Imeinu, Lo Nikres B'Lashan Yachid Sarai, V'Ksara Shema Ki Hi Sarasi B'Medinais, Al Kol HaGayim. That's all the Dairos. this great revolution in which spirituality inexorably surfaces and emerges with a dynamic force throughout history, is expressed, he says, in the Rashi Tevis, Asain, the female donkey of Bilam. Asain, Rashi Tevis, Avraham, Terach, Nachor. This dynamic historical process, initiated by Avraham Avinu, of the recurring emergence of Kedusha in the world, that's what crushes the foot of Bilam as he attempts to thwart and block the destiny of Am Yisrael. La Sheker Ein Raglayim. Avraham Avinu started this ongoing revolution, the revolution of Am Yisrael, a great magnetic force perpetually drawing in all the good and the righteous. This process proceeds with great force, and nothing can stand in its way. Hein am kalav yakum ukfir yisnase la yishkav al yochal teref v'dam chalalim yishteh. From the moment Am Yisrael rises in the morning, they go for mitzvahs, talis, Kriya Shema, tefillin, and they don't go to sleep before saying Kriya Shema and depositing their souls to their master, who in turn protects them from all intruders. Am Yisrael through Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim, and through Kriya Shema and Tefillah, constantly reconnect to Hashem and keep this great magnetic force going. And every household in Am Yisrael is part of this revolution. Every household is a miniature base Avraham. The Megala Mukais explains a medrash in Sefer Micha that Bilam wanted to be mevatel Kriya Shema and Tefillah amongst the Jewish people. Sharatza levatel Kriya Shema and Tefillah lachein heraloi begimel mekaymais. Why did he go to 3 different spots? Keneged gimel Tefillah shachris heraloi Avraham mincha Yitzchak arvis Yaakov v'chulu matayvu ohalecha Yaakov. He says lashen ohalecha lashen shnayim rabim. Who side trains Yibugun Ilu, and speaks about Kriya Shema Yudke, Tefillah Vavke. The great spiritual revolution of Avraham Avinu is expressed in Kriya Shema and Tefillah, and he explains, the Megala Mukas, that the combination of Kriya Shema and Tefillah is Yudke, the Yichud of Yudke and Vavke. Like we say, we refer to this concept when we say L'Shem Yichud Kutsha B'richu, who b'dechilu urechimu liyached shem yudke b'vavke b'yichud ashlim b'shem kol Yisrael. Now, so these are 2 different aspects. There's the yudke and the vavke. The Kriya Shema expresses the concept of Hashem Echad, Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, Hashem omnipotent, the creator of all of existence, and this existence creation is ongoing. Hamachadesh b'tuvay b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh b'reishis. Also, Va'ata Mechaya Es Kulam. If Hashem would withdraw and abandon the world for even one moment, the entire world and all of creation would revert to absolute nothingness. Hashem initiates and activates all of existence, and the world and man are merely passive recipients of divine chesed. Kir esh hamecha ma'aseh etzba'esecha yareach v'chaychavim asher kananta. We look at the whole universe, everything in creation, and we exclaim, Ma enosh kisis karenu, uven adam kisif gedenu. Man is a nullity, a valueless organism, helpless, feeble, vulnerable, and mortal. Hagedula v'hagvura v'chayalamim, the sphera of Yesod and Tiferes. And this is Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, the first aspect, in which man accepts his boundaries, his limitations, his finiteness, his frustrations, his suffering, his mortality, and ultimately his demise. But there's the other, the Vavke, the Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim of Tefillah. This is a sphera of Malchus, Shechina, Malchus, Matrainia, Matranusa, Kala. Hashem is remote and hidden, Yoshe B'Seisar Elyon, but Hashem also dwells amongst us. Hashem dwells among us, but Hashem is still hidden and does not reveal himself, because Hashem waits for us to initiate and to activate the Kedusha in the world. Hashem waits for the individual to perform mitzvahs to elevate and sanctify physical and earthly existence. Mi mana afar Yaakov, Rashi says, Ein cheshbon b'mitzvah shehem mekayimim ba'afar. We have afar in the world, earth, lo sachresh b'shar b'chamar, lo sizra kilayim, afar para, afar saita b'chayotze b'hem. And in Tefillah, we ask Hashem to grant us all of our physical and worldly needs. But when we finish the Bakashais in Shemona Esrei, what do we say? V'tzei Hashem Elokeinu b'amcha Yisrael v'svilasam she'eh v'hashev es ha'avoda lidvir beis shecha v'ishe Yisrael. What are we talking about, Ishe Yisrael? We just talked about a Kodesh Baruch Hu should accept our tefillah like carbonized. And then we say Ishe Yisrael. What is Ishe Yisrael referring to? Because we already said all the carbonized we're asking Hashem to renew. So what is this Ishe Yisrael? This refers, the Megala Mukos says, to our ongoing and active commitment to dedicate all of our resources and our entire being to the service of Hashem. Meaning we ask Hashem for everything we need, and then we give it back to Hashem. But Mesirus Nefesh, La'olam Zaysal Yisrael, says the Megala Mukos, Ze Mizbeach, Banui, in Shamayim, in the Mikdash Shel Mala, there is a Mizbeach. Umichael, Sar HaGadol, Oimed, Umakrib Alehem Nishmoisehen, Shel Tzadikim. Ki'ilu, Kadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachal is passive. He waits for us to redeem and sanctify earthly dimensions. Ha'aretz Nasan Livnei Adam, I think we mentioned in the name of the Katzker, to change Oretz into Shamayim. Hashem is in the Bechina of Melech Asar Barahatim, Kaviyachal tied up in ropes. He will not emerge to illuminate the world until man moves forward with commitment and Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice. And the Megala Mukos then quotes a pasuk, Vatiyabev Eim Sisra. Second, let me get it here. Ba'ad ha'chaloi nishkafa, Vatiyabev Eim Sisra ba'ad ha'eshnoib. This is a pasuk from Shiras Tevora in Sefer Shoftim, talking about the mother of Sisra after the defeat in the fight between Tevora Hanaviah. Madua boishesh rikvay lavai. She's waiting for her son to come home. Madua ech erupa meimar kavaisav. So the Megala Mukos says this refers to the wailing of the Shechina. Vatiyabev Eim Sisra, concerning the great neshama of Rabbi Akiva, who would descend. He's a descendant of Sisra. Many generations later, Ben Gerim, Shemibnei Banav Shel Sisra, Lamdu Torah Barabim, Hu Rabbi Akiva, Vatiyabev Hashchina al Ikor Hatziruf Madua Boishesh Rukbei Lavai. So, Mi Mana Afar Yaakov Mispar Es Roiba Yisrael. This, again, he says, this is the great revolution of the Avos. Their yearning for Kedusha results in innumerable generations who recapture and recreate this unyielding stream, drawing in innumerable great neshamas. Emes me Eretz Titzmach refers to the descendants, the actual descendants of Yaakov, that the branches will yield the fruit worthy of the great seeds of Kedusha that were planted. But then comes Tzedek Mishamayim Nishkav, refers to Gerei Tzedek, whose neshamas are pulled into the Jewish people in every generation by the great magnetic force of the Avos. Mispar Esroiva Yisrael, the household of Avraham Avinu, in which he was Mispadel Min Ha'umais. That's the prototype for the household of every Talmid Chacham. Every Talmid Chacham, in his unique quest for Kedusha, establishes a household that steps apart from the hostile environment and thus draws in great neshamas. The household of every Talmid Chacham creates B'zer Anpin, a miniature, the great revolution of Kedusha of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu continually steps apart from the comfort zone, from the familiar, negative, animalistic traits, self-centered thought patterns and behavior patterns. That's the meaning of Lech Lecha me'artzecha mi'moladetecha mi'beis avicha. More than geographical regions, these are new psychological, emotional, metaphysical, and spiritual realms to which Avraham and his progeny are constantly journeying and discovering. El ha'aretz asher ar'eka. This is the secret of Am Yisrael. It's our journey to Eretz Yisrael, a deep and ongoing quest levadad, apart, separate, and detached from the superficial goings-on of the world and the nations of the world around us. And here I have a nice story told over by Gioris. I think I read it online somewhere. She speaks about how one day she was walking back to her apartment, And on the way, she passed a young man. She wasn't dressed modestly, and to her astonishment, this young man averted his eyes. He looked down to the ground as he hurried past her. She couldn't believe it. To be sure, she turned around to check, to see if he would turn back, but he kept going on his way without stopping. In a world where everyone is looking to satisfy their urges, could such a thing be possible? Who was that boy? Upon returning to her apartment, she spoke to her roommate, and her roommate informed her that that boy that she had seen was Jewish. Until that point, she had never seen a Jew, didn't know what it was all about. She knew nothing about Jews at all. She began then her quest. She began to ask around and meet with Jewish people and amass as much information as possible. What she discovered was a world of dedication, integrity, sincerity, and consistent commitment. She was inspired, and she began her long, arduous process to convert to Judaism. Now she's married and beginning to build a Jewish home in the wonderful tradition of her adoptive forebears. This is Levada Jishkain. And here's a disclaimer. A person can be in a very busy place, but if he's completely detached and separate from the non-Jewish values that are going around him, and he retreats into an inner self of Kedusha, this is Levada Jishkain. And on the other hand, a person, just because he's all dressed and in the right neighborhood, that doesn't necessarily mean that his inner self is one of Kedusha. Because if he's gloating with elitism and falsity, superiority, that's not it. The Megala Mukais explains the pasuk in Lech Lecha, referring to Avraham Avinu, "Vayotze Isai hachutza," to mean Shahayitzi Isai min chutzais. Hashem took him outside. Hashem took him out of the street outside, meaning away from the big hustle bustle of what's going on in the world. Therefore, Balak and Bilam, where did they go in order to curse? Kiryas chutzais, because the Jewish people are toich, are about inner meaning, and Balak and Bilam are chutz. Kedusha is an inner dimension of human existence without any display, no quest for power, no elitism. Where do we see that? Rabbi Akiva. He descended from Sisra, and he has no background. He had been coming from Amei Haaretz. But Rabbi Akiva emerged to be the pillar of Torah She'Ba'al Peh, because in Kedusha there's no condescension, no arrogance, no self-aggrandizement. Every individual neshama has its unique role and function. Our strength is not in our numbers. Our strength is also not in displaying our numbers. Our strength is not in our political power or acumen. It's not even in our great intellect. Our strength is in our Kedusha. This is an indomitable, indestructible energy and force that never gets lost, not even in the slightest measure. Balak and Bilam tried their utmost, but failed to sabotage this journey. They realized that the strength of Am Yisrael is inward, in the profound soul connection to Hashem and the resulting behavior and lifestyle. Therefore, Bilam comes up with a scheme to pull Am Yisrael out, to kiryas chutzais, to seduce them with a b'nai Smayav. And this terrible, terrible ploy indeed brought calamity, a catastrophic plague which struck, and Rahman al-Itzlan, 24,000 men fell. However, as terrible as it sounds, let's pay attention to an interesting fact. Let us keep in mind that the sin of Pa'or and Benos Moav was a trap, intentionally, wickedly set up by sinister Bilam. We're taught that the main sinner, Zimri, resurfaces many generations later. How did that happen? Through the courageous act of Mesiras Nefesh of Pinchas. Through that act of Mesiras Nefesh, Zimri's sin that was so terribly instigated by Bilam HaRasha, that sin of Zimri is rectified. And Zimri's neshama resurfaces many centuries later in the Gilgal as Rabbi Akiva, son of Gerim. Rabbi Akiva is a pillar of Torah She'Ba'al Peh. What a wonder The journey is not short. It goes through many twists and turns, many jealous and evil characters along the way, trying their utmost to disrupt this process. Chas v'shalom, they seem to succeed. Let us know that this is only a superficial, temporary success, because Kedusha rebounds with a great force. Ata echad v'shimcha echad umika amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. I just want to finish with the words of the Shlach HaKadosh, where he says that next week is Shavasa B'Tammuz, and we said bracha v'loi klala. So he says, Hakol Tevasenu. Here I'll read from here. V'alzeh ba haremes b'Torah b'divrei Aaron she'amar chag laHashem machar v'amar zeh al Yudzayin b'Tammuz, because at the end of the because in the process of the Chet HaEgel, Aaron proclaims chag laHashem machar, and that is to be fulfilled. Yudzayin b'Tammuz yesh machar shehu la'achar zman. That takes a long time. V'ramaz ki la'asid yihiyeh Tzayim Revi l'chag v'l'sasayin l'simcha u'tisha b'av nikra moyed k'mo shekasav kara alay moyed al shem asid sheyihi echag. Both Yudzayin b'Tammuz and Tisha B'av are going to turn into Yomim Tovim. Al kein Tisha B'av tamid chal k'mo shechal Yom Echad shel Pesach. Tisha B'av always comes out the same day as the first day of Pesach. What's the connection? Shabbat yatzu Yisrael min Mitzrayim shehu me'in geula de la'asid k'mo shekasav ki meit seischa min Mitzrayim Avraham nifla'os. With a fervent tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to bring home the hostages and all the chayalim briim u'shleimim, and to bring a big nitzachon that will reverberate in the whole world. V'kablu chulam es al machosecha Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Thank you very much.